So, there's a fun new character in Marvel Rivals, and she has an outfit in the store that makes you feel things, and you want to be really good with her. But for a lot of players out there, easier said than done. I've been doing a lot of two things lately, fiddling around with Invisible Woman and watching comp matches, wait for it, of lower ranked players. If you've seen my recent advanced tips and tricks video, link down in the description, #smoothplug, then you'll know I mentioned it's a good idea to use the history feature in-game to watch and analyze matches from the top players in the game. But believe it or not, you can actually learn a surprising amount from watching people in the lower tiers getting completely ragdolled. Today, we're going to both give advice on how to better use and understand the Invisible Woman's kit, and also go over some mistakes that I saw happen more than once from watching people play her. Don't worry, we got the hide names feature in the replay system, so we're going to treat this like an OG true crime show. All names have been changed to protect the innocent. Let's start off with one I see a lot of players doing: spamming double jump for no reason. Maybe spamming isn't the right word, because technically there's a 6-second cooldown after you use it, but I see a lot of folks using it as frequently as they can with no real purpose behind it. If you didn't know, the transparent lady has the ability to jump and then bust out a big double jump that sends you way further, turns you invisible, and thanks to your passive ability, lets you begin regenning your health right away. Ideally, you want to either use it for an emergency escape or to maybe gain better positioning for a play. And yet, some folks out here hitting the spacebar just to go wee. Now, technically, I guess you could make the argument that you're making yourself harder to hit by A, being bouncy, and B, going invisible more frequently. I don't know though, you can do that if you want, but you run the risk of being absolutely empty-handed if you get jumped on by some random flank player. If you save your double jump, then the next time the enemy flanker pops out to kill you, like, "Gotcha, bitch!" you can easily jump away from them, saving your own life. I mean, take a look right here. The Invisible Woman player wants to get the hell out of there, but can't because they wasted their double jump. And now look at them. Couldn't jump away from the impending storm ultimate, and now they're dead and feeling like a fool. Too harsh, you say? Well, I say not harsh enough, because this clip is actually of me, just trying to keep all things fair. If I'm gonna judge other folks' gameplay, I can't be immune to the same kinds of criticism. And it's all good. I learned my lesson, and I actually baited out the next storm ultimate. Take that, you sexy weather goddess. Alrighty, thing number 2, pushing people just to push them. The Invisible Woman has a really unique tool at her disposal via her force physics ability. Activate it, then either push enemies away from you or pull them towards you. There are a lot of ways you can use this creatively, and yet I see a lot of usage in matches which I can only really describe as lol get pushed idiot. Now, to be fair, pushing does deal straight up damage to the enemy, about 55 damage, so you should really only be pushing for damage if the enemy is weak, and a good push or pull would very likely just finish them off. There also might be times where dudes are just up in your grill and you need to get them away from you just long enough for your teammates to help you out. Those are your standard bread and butter pushes. But let's go over some additional, more tactical uses. In combination with her Psionic Vortex ability, which drops an AoE sphere on the field that pulls in enemies and does chip damage, you have a neat little 1-2 combo of harassment going on. Smack the enemy with your Psionic Vortex ability, then if they try to turn around and run away, you pull them right back in with force physics. If you're just bullying some player in general who decides it's time to run away, bam, you pull them right back and finish them off. You can also try pushing enemies into generally dangerous places that they don't want to be in, like shoving them into a Penny Parker spider nest, or right off the edge of the damn map. That one is definitely map dependent, but always worth attempting, IMO. You can also save your boop for an emergency teammate save, demonstrated here in a comp match I played the other day. I was trying to regroup with my team after they got wiped, and I was surely a goner until teammate hops in to save the day. They both healed me up and used their ability to literally push the aggro right off me out the doorway, saving my skinny white ass. I'd recommend that if you're trying to really be an Invisible Woman main, be sure to have this question constantly on your mind during a match. How could I push and or pull the enemy in a way that would really piss them off? Then do that. All right, moving right along, why don't we talk about thing number 3, the Guardian Shield. First, I want to take a moment to speak to the Invisible Women players out there, and then I want to talk to the teammates of of Invisible Women players. All right, all you translucent ladies out there, listen up. I get that your primary attack is your routine source of healing, which, very understandable, that'll be your first line of healing. However, I'm seeing a lot of intentional neglect or straight up forgetting about the Guardian Shield ability, which, remember, also heals people. Yes, I get that the shield is paper thin and only has 300 health, a far cry from other shields in the game, like the ones held by Doctor Strange or Magneto, but there are quality benefits of the Guardian Shield. You ever find yourself having trouble landing healing shots on a flying teammate because they're zigzagging around? The Guardian Shield isn't a perfect fix-all, but it will help you get heals on them right away because it can auto-target that player. They may have to continue zigzagging, especially if they're being shot at, but if the Guardian Shield isn't broken, they can always just fly around and then return to their heal point for guaranteed heals. Again, because this thing will stay up until either the Invisible Woman takes it down or it gets shot and broken, you can technically put it up in out-of-the-way locations where enemies can't really shoot at it so it never gets broken and stays up until the Invisible Woman player dies. Put it around a corner and give your back-of-the-map DPSer their own permanent heal source. Or you can use it more traditionally in the heat of battle, which is a great idea too. Throw it on your teammate in the middle of a fight, and now you've given the enemy something else to be annoyed by. They now have to either divert their attention to shoot and break the shield, or deal with your teammate having a permanent source of healing. And if you're annoyed that you dropped a Guardian Shield on a teammate who didn't notice it was there and just immediately ran away from it, I mean, look, that's just gonna happen. If and when that does happen, you can just manually take the shield down and then reapply it to that teammate again if they still need health. You see, if the Guardian Shield is broken, it'll take a few seconds before you can use that ability again, but if it hasn't taken a lot of or any damage and you take it down, the respawn timer is much more generous. You can put it up again almost immediately. Sometimes players apparently just focus on one form of healing or the other when there's no reason you can't do both. In the following footage, let's pause right here. We have an Invisible Woman watching her two tanks get sandwiched between enemy Groot walls. All right, let's hit play. She tries to keep healing them and keep them alive, which great, but it probably also would have been a good idea to drop a Guardian Shield in there for additional healing on top of using her primary attack. Not exactly a huge deal, but she wasn't using one anywhere else at the moment, so why the hell not? Anyway, now I want to give an open letter to those who may find themselves playing on the same team as the Invisible Woman. I completely get that there are going to be plenty of times where you can't stay in one place very long. You're regrouping, you're strafing, you're getting chased, you're chasing down a weak enemy, yada yada yada. However, if you see a Guardian Shield being dropped literally on top of you, maybe take advantage of that for 1 second before instantly bailing. Check this out real quick from watching random matches. This player sees their team pushing to the point, so Invisible Woman takes down her back of the map Guardian Shield and refreshes it up front on her tank. Then, when fighting, Magneto backs up after taking some damage to take advantage of the free health regen that he knows is just a few feet behind him. Good stuff right there. You love to see it. Again, they're definitely not god tier forms of protection, but try to use them if they're there. Yeah, they don't give you crazy protection and they don't give you crazy health, but any amount of help that you can get in the middle of a fight could help you win the fight. And even though they only have 300 health, they can still tank some one-shot ults, including both Namor and Iron Man, which is kinda wild. All right, we got two more things to talk about, but I'm gonna keep it brief. One is players whiffing their Psionic Vortex attack, meaning a player throws out their Psionic Vortex AoE sphere and just hard misses it completely. Don't get me wrong, I've whiffed attacks and abilities plenty of times. We all have. But remember, you can manually detonate this attack after throwing it out by just hitting the activation button a second time. I think to be safe, you should either A, just be aiming this attack directly at the ground in front of your opponent, or B, throwing it out with the plan to immediately detonate it mid-air as it nears the enemy so you can never overshoot a target when using it. All right, final thing to talk about, Invisible Boundary, aka her ult. While I don't think it's as overpowered as, say, Luna Snow's ultimate, it's still pretty damn good. When activated, allies in the field are invisible to enemies outside of the field, and allies within the area gain healing of 165 health per second. If you were curious, Luna Snow's ultimate gives 250 healing per second, but again, still pretty good for Invisible Woman. A misconception I've heard about the Invisible Woman's ult is that enemies within the field are continually be slowed. That actually isn't true. Enemies will become slowed by 55% if they pass through the field at any point, and the slow duration will only last for 1 second. Not exactly incredible, but this means you can have extra fun during your ultimate by doing one of two things. You can, 1, use your force physics ability to shove enemies out of the field where they'll be slowed because they pass through the barrier, and they'll no longer be able to see anyone on your team. Or 2, you can use your force physics ability to pull enemies trying to run away back into your ult. Both are fun, effective, and devious, and really isn't that the point? Now go forth and show everyone in the next lobby you join that you're rocking the Malice skin, not because you're a drooling goon, but because you know how to play the hell out of the Invisible Woman. And if you have any additional tips for your fellow supporters, leave them down in the comment section. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.